Hello, my name's Ciara Callaghan. I'm a needlework and natural colour artist, and I am going to show you how to make some paints and art materials using natural colours that we have got from making dye vats. So if you can watch my previous video that I've done, it shows you how to make the dye vat and use it to dye fabric. However, if you don't have time for that, I'm just going to quickly talk you through how to make the strong dye pigment that we want to be able to make these materials. So what you need to do is get your dye stuff. What we used in the previous video is tea, onion skins and avocado stones and pits, and you make a dye vat. So a dye vat is like making a giant cup of tea. So you put your dye stuff in, which could be, for example, the onion skins, and then you fill the pan about halfway with water and you cook it for 1 hour until you've got a really lovely orange liquid. Then what you need to do is strain out the onion skins and keep the liquid and boil that right down until you've just got about 2 centimetres left of the dye, and that will leave you with a really strong coloured liquid, and we're going to use that to make our paint materials with. So I am going to use our onion skin pigment to make some pastels today. So what I have in this jug is just ordinary porridge oats, and I've just covered them with water and I've left them for a few hours. So we've got that lovely thick liquid now, and that is going to be our binder that's going to help bind all of our ingredients together. Pastels are a lovely easy one because there's only 3 ingredients really. So we've got our pigment, we've got our oat water, and I've also got some chalk here. If you don't have chalk at home, you might be able to go out and find it around you, as it's in the ground in lots of places in England, or you can order it off the internet for quite a little amount. Now I'm going to use a spoon just to add a little bit of the onion skin pigment to my bowl. I'm actually going to get some from the bottom where the pigment's nice and rich. And then I'm just going to add 1 teaspoon of my lovely thick oat water. And then I'm going to pour in, actually I'm going to use my hands to crumble in some chalk. So make sure that I'm just using the back of the spoon to push out any lumps in the chalk as you go. And what you want is it to be a consistency where you can begin to just with your hands stick it together to make it into the pastel. And if it's got too much chalk like I've got here, I'm just going to add more of our beautiful onion skin pigment to that. Then when it's thick enough to kind of form into a ball like this, you're just going to roll that into your pastel shape. And it should be firm enough to hold together. If it's not, you might need to add a little bit more of the chalk. You can just smooth that out. This is a really nice bit where if you have any dried flowers or herbs that you'd like to use, you can use them to decorate them to make them really special. I've got some dried calendula petals that I'm going to just sprinkle onto this. Then I'm just going to pop this onto a piece of grease-proof paper to dry out, and that is how to make your natural pigment pastel. So the first thing we need to do to make the watercolours is put 2 tablespoons of bicarbonate of soda into the bowl. Then we're going to add about 25 millilitres of vinegar. I'm just using distilled white vinegar. You can see it's all going to foam very excitingly, and give that a stir so that's until that's all really smooth and blended together. And when you're happy that that is all blended together nicely, you're going to add corn flour. So 2 tablespoons of corn flour. It's going added to the mix. And again, just stir that until it's really nice and smooth. And you'll get an idea here if you feel like that's thick enough or not. So you want it to be thick enough so you feel that bit of resist from the corn flour. It shouldn't be that easy to stir, so mine's a little bit thin, so I think give it a good stir. I'm probably going to add a bit more corn flour just to get that nice thick consistency. Now I'm just going to add some honey, and what that does is honey acts as a preservative, so that's going to stop your watercolours from going mouldy. It's also going to give them a nice shine when you use them on the paper after they've dried. So stir that all in, and then if you feel like it's a little bit thin, I think I'd like that to be a bit thicker, so I'm just going to add another spoon of corn flour and stir that in, and then you can feel that resist then from the corn flour. So just keep stirring that until it's all blended in nicely together. Lovely, and when that's all blended together, I don't know what I was doing then with my hand. Lovely, so that's a perfect consistency now, and it's got a bit of resistance from the corn flour. So I have these two lids, which I'm going to use to make my watercolours in, but you can use anything if you've got some little pots or something. Something quite nice and flat, because we're gonna leave them to dry out. So just pour your mixture into the lids. Remember, don't fill it all the way to the top, because you need room to add your paint pigments as well. And then now in the first one, I'm going to add our avocado pigment. So that was made from the avocado dye, and just letting that boil down till you've got a really nice strong dye left in the bottom. And I'm going to add that in and get a lovely soft pink watercolour paint. If you want the colour to be stronger, you just add a little bit more of the dye and give it a really good mix in so it's all smooth and is bound together really nicely. Lovely. In the next one, I am going to use some of our tea and iron, which again has been just boiled down so that it's a stronger pigment, and stir that in again, just making sure that that is all blended. And that's going to give you a really lovely rich chocolatey brown colour. Nice. So you can either use them paints straight away, or you can leave them to dry and then just use them with a wet brush as watercolour paints. Okay, so we have now 3 different ways that we can use our materials. So you can use just the concentrated pigment, which looks like these really beautiful watery inks on the paper, as you can see. That's the tea, and then the avocado one I'm doing now, and the onion skin one. And if you want them to be stronger, you can just boil them down some more as well, and even put them into a coffee filter and get the kind of dried pigment from them. Now the pastels, so this is the onion skin pastel, so that's been left to dry, but it still has that nice moistness in the middle from the oat water. And that's the tea pastel, which broke in my hand. And now just smudging that out. So they act really beautifully, just like normal pastels do. And again, really lovely subtle tones that you get with them. And then finally, I'll try our watercolours. So these haven't set yet, so I'm using them while they're still liquid. And they're just lovely, very gentle shade of pink. . 'Cause 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 'c and the T1. And there are 3 different ways that you can use the pigment, the pastels and the watercolours that we've learned how to make today.